Hello and welcome. This is the Mormon to Medium podcast, where we talk about spirituality, religion, the paranormal, and my wife's journey going from Mormon to medium.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. In this episode, we're going to be continuing an interview with our really good friend, Sandy. Get ready to have some fun.
I'm so happy. So after all of those uglies, and then I was a single mom for, from 2009 until 2015. And in 2015, a friend of mine had to teach a repelling class in St. George. And he's like, I don't want to drive by myself. Please just ride with me. And I'm like, dude, I don't dangle from ropes. Like, that's not a thing. But I said, if you will get me a hotel room with a pool, I will sit by the pool and read a book. You go dangle all the ropes you want, and then I'll drive home with you so that, keep you awake. So we get down there into St. George, and he goes, just come to the first day of class and it'll be fun. Like, just come see what we do. And I'm like, okay, I'm bored. So I went, and he taught me how to rappel, which surprised me. And I had a lot of fun and decided this wasn't so bad. And he goes, well, you're confident enough that I can take you down the hill or down the, this height. I'm like, okay. Well, there was another instructor, and there was this tall, skinny guy, and he was the other instructor, and he had this cute little tiny puppy with him stuffed down his shirt all the time. And so I was like, he's such a nice guy. Look, he's got a Chihuahua in his jacket. And so he was going to come the next
Who
day.
travels with a Chihuahua in their pocket?
Right? Like, he just shoved the Chihuahua down his jacket. So the next day we go on this huge hike, and there's all these amazing views, and I've never done anything like that in my life. And I rappelled down these hundreds and hundreds of feet, and I didn't die. And I was starting to flirt with this tall, skinny guy because, God, he was so cute. And so this one really scary rappel, I told there was 3 guys that were helping me make sure that I didn't die. So I told him, I said, to the cute guy, I said, actually I said to all 3 of them, I said, if I survive this, I'm going to kiss you all full on the mouth. That's just how we're going to end this rappel. And, so my friend was like kind of laughing, going, yeah, I bet she is, So I get to the bottom, and this nice man down there, he helped me. And I hurried and kissed him on the mouth. I'm like, darling. And then I grabbed the tall, skinny one, and I was like, I kissed him, and it was the worst kiss in the whole world. Like, I don't think he heard me, and B, I don't think he believed me. And so literally it was like kissing a tree. It was just like a thunk. And I'm like, well, shit, that was not very flirty. Like, how do you flirt that badly, Sandy? Like, come on. I mean, I know you're out of practice, but seriously. So I was like, now I'm just embarrassed. So we get through the hike, and I'm still just following this guy around, and I just think he's so cute. We get to the end, and everybody's kind of saying goodbye and exchanging phone numbers so we can exchange pictures, exchanging Facebook and whatever. And he was so kind, and he hugged me, and he spun me around, and he sticks me up in the side of his shirt, and he goes, I'm taking this one home with me. And I looked at him, I said, well, be careful what you wish for, because I'd probably go. And that was it. Like, and he just was joking, and I'm just like, okay, So I go back up north, and he goes to his house, and we start, Facebook messaging to exchange pictures. And I said, I sure hope your friend, because he had come with a woman and I'd come with my friend Stu. And so I said, I sure hope, your friend wasn't offended that I kissed you. And he goes, well, why would she care? We're not dating. I'm like, oh. And he goes, well, did Stu care? And I'm like, why would Stu care? We're not dating. And he goes, oh. And I said, there's a concert. You should come up and go to this concert. And he was like, okay, I don't have anything to do. He stuffed that Chihuahua down his jacket, jumped on a motorcycle, and came up that weekend. And we went to a concert and spent the weekend and just had a blast. And then Thanksgiving came, and he had to come up to see his kids. And so we spent that weekend again just having a blast. And he invited me to come down. He's from Kanab, Utah. And I'm like, what's a Kanab? Like, I Googled it. Like, I've never heard of Kanab. And so I had my friend Stu drive me down, because I don't drive in the winter and I can't drive at dark. And so Stu takes me down and drops me off, and I go, and I came around the corner of this stupid little podunk town, and I thought, you're home. You're home.
Oh.
And I'll be damned, I grew up in a small town. I was never going to go back to a small town. I wanted to live in the city. I want to retire in Seattle or New York or Portland. I'm city. And I came around the corner and I was like, God damn it, I'm home. And I'm like, nah. And so then I'm like, don't get excited. Like this guy barely knows you. And so, we visited a couple times. And one time he actually told me, he's like, don't let the red dirt get in your ears. You'll fall in love with it. And I said, too late. I'm already in love. And he looked at me and he goes, I was afraid of that. And so I was like, oh dear, this is not going well. I'm like trying to tell him that I love him. And he's like going, don't. And so there was some back and forth and back and forth. And the next thing you know, he's like, what are you doing in June? And I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, well, let's go to Peru. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I've got some friends who are going to Peru. And I'm like, oh, I'll go to Peru. So went and got a passport, and my friend Ken and Caitlin took me to Peru with Russ, and I came back and fully in love. And he was like, okay, I've had enough of you. Like 2 weeks with you was like plenty. We're good. And I'm like, wait, time out. What? Like, no, 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 no. This is not how my story ends. Like, no. And so there was a month where we kind of, didn't talk very much. And then finally I just said, you just need to let me love you. You need to let somebody love you. You deserve to be loved. And he's just like, well, you don't even live here. And I'm like, well, have you asked me to come live there? And he's like, well, you would need a job and you would need, and I'm like, well, I'll come down and get a job. And I moved down
It
and
seriously just reminds me of Grey's Anatomy, and she's like, "Pick me, choose me, love me."
exactly. And I was just like, well, what is wrong with this? Like, I can see our whole future is laid out. And he's like going, no, no, thanks. Thanks for coming to Peru with me. I needed a companion. But I'm like, oh, like this is going to be my life now. And so, but I came down, I met some wonderful, amazing people, and they gave me a wonderful, amazing opportunity for a job. And it has turned into something beautiful in 9 years. And 2 years ago, Russ asked me to marry him. And we eloped to my favorite peekaboo slot canyon. And my youngest daughter performed the ceremony. She went and got ordained and she performed the ceremony. And um, then we just celebrated our life. And we've just had every adventure that you can imagine ever since. So I don't need, I still believe in God, of course. I mean, who could not believe in God when you look out and see the rainbows and the beautiful things and all the things that are been given to us? But I don't believe that because I'm not wearing the right underwear, or I'm not paying so much money, or I'm not praying, like I'm God still loves me, and I can still love God, and it's all going to be okay. And I have friends who are still in the LDS church. I have friends who are not, and that didn't change who we are as people. And I think that
Right.
sometimes that's hard for people to understand. Like, just because I don't go to church doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I'm not promiscuous. I'm not killing people. I'm not doing drugs. I'm not doing all the things. I'm still me. I just spend my Sundays
You have a
differently.
moral compass.
Yes, and that never changed. Like, I'm still me. So, yeah, the road has been bumpy and it's hard some days, but I've never been happier. And I'm gonna hold on to it and live my adventure with Russ until I until I don't have any more adventure to have. So,
I just have to interject because I'm over here losing my shit. Because the two of you are just my favorite people in the whole world. And I always tell Brad, I'm like, Russ can get me to do anything that a normal person
right?
can't get me to do.
Right?
Yeah,
There's
camping.
something about
Russ
him.
asked Nan, "Oh yeah, she's all about it."
It's true, and
yeah,
I don't camp. The Marriott is my camping.
and when I found out after the camping trip that you didn't camp, I was like, but she did so good.
But you know what? I can do lots of things. I think because I trust Russ, and he just has this beautiful spirit, and he's so familiar. But
Yep.
I love the two of you, and you two are so perfect. And whatever hell you had to go through to get to him, it has to be worth it because you
And
guys
that's
are
how
just
I
so
do
perfect
feel.
together.
And I didn't do anything by any book. I literally went outside of myself and I did things that I would never do. Like I said, I don't dangle from ropes, but I dangled from a rope, and I always tell
For
Russ, I said,
him.
I found him at the end of a rope. And I think I was at the end of my rope, and he saved me. And he he is the calm to my storm. I gave away and sold almost
That
everything
was
I owned and moved down with nothing. I started all over yet again. And this time, I think my picker was not broken, and I think I chose well. And, we have to choose each other every day. He drives me crazy. I know I drive him crazy, but he loves me just the way I am. And I love him just the way he is, and I think it works for us because, when my health right now isn't as good as it was when I first moved down and I was able to go and I learned how to hike. I'm a city girl, but I went hiking, I went hunting. I have killed things. I have killed things with a bow and an arrow. I have killed a black bear. I'm gonna throw that out there because I have killed a bear and he hasn't yet, so I have to still own that. Hopefully in 2
you
weeks.
also outfished him.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. But hopefully in 2 weeks he can redeem himself and he'll get his own bear. But
But
it's an amazing opportunity that I've never left the country until I met Russ. And now I have left the country multiple times and done multiple amazing things. I've learned about the Indian heritage in this area and the reverence that my husband has for that, and the reverence that he has for the animals, that yes, we take their life, but it isn't a waste. We make sure that we use the meat, we use the things. It's not just for sport. We fill our freezer, and it isn't taken lightly. And he takes such good care of me and our little pack of animals. And we have a beautiful home now where we can be comfortable. And he likes to sing that "You're the queen of my double wide trailer," and I'm happy in my cute little double wide trailer. It makes me happy, it makes me whole, and I'm a homebody, and I love to be there and to have my home when he comes home from hunting, or, from and he will hunt things that are alive, he will hunt things that are dead. He hunts arrowheads and sheds and potteries and, the ancient things, and he has such respect for them. He he treats everything with such dignity, and he's very kind and smart, and I'm very lucky to have found him to complete me. And he's the calm to my crazy. So we're
you
re-
guys are perfect balance. You really are. It's beautiful.
Agreed. And
Mhm.
he is such a good man. Sandy, thank you for all that you've shared with us. I do want to jump into something, and I hope it's not too personal. I hope
You're
you're
fine.
okay sharing it.
Okay.
Um, Earlier today, you actually got a balance from Nan, and you were talking a little bit about that balance before the show. And Nan doesn't talk about her clients and expose, them at all. So maybe I'm stepping, across a line I shouldn't. But would you be willing to talk
Yeah.
about some of the things that came up while you were doing that? And I'm just going to let Nan and you chit chat about that, because I thought it was really crazy how some of this bubbled up in your balance.
Yeah. No, I mean, I threw my back out yesterday traveling home from Iowa, and it was a miserable trip home. And my daughter ended up getting a wheelchair for me because I couldn't even walk. I was so miserable. And I came to your home in the middle of the night to sleep. And when I woke up this morning, I could barely make it into your kitchen. And Nannette said, "Do you want some coffee?" I said, "Yes, but not for a minute because I can't let go of your counter." And I was literally in so much pain that I could not move. And she was willing to give me a balance. And then I'll let Nan tell how that it's magic, and I believe in it 100%, but I don't know what it is, but oh my gosh, I'm upright, and it's she's a miracle worker.
I am just an energy worker. That's what I am. Your body did all of the balancing. So when a body is in pain like that, it's just an opportunity for you to heal. And so you had some things that were kind of in the way that were causing your back to hurt. And it's always going to be a trauma or an emotion or an old belief system. Those are your beaver dams. And you had some major beaver dams, and you had some ages that came up with certain
Right, and I'm
emotions. that was so interesting. But what I thought was interesting when you were telling your story, you had a soul sabotage that came up. Soul sabotage. And when we're talking about all of that religious stuff and you wondering if God is there and if he cares about you and all of that stuff, I'm just like losing it and I even
Yes.
texted you, soul sabotage. This was it.
Right. Well, and like one of the words that you had given me was unhappy. And it was at the age of 23 that I was unhappy. And I had gotten married. My first daughter was born, but my husband and I were going through some really ugly times, and I was definitely unhappy. And I knew I had made a mistake, and I knew, but again, Mormons don't get a divorce. You just be better. And no matter how hard I wanted to be better, I could never be better. So I was definitely unhappy. And then the next word you gave me was unworthy. And it went back to 30. And 30 was when I lost my temple recommend. And the bishop had told me that I was no longer worthy. And I felt unworthy. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And then at 50, no, yeah, 55, you talked about, I can't remember the word. Shoot, I should have written it down. But it was like, you're spot on. And you found all those things. And then once we, talked about those beaver dams and you helped me to release them, it was amazing because I could literally feel the energy in my legs. My legs had been numb from the pinch in my back. And suddenly I could feel the energy. My left leg woke up first and my right leg kind of still beaver dammed into my hip. And then we went a little further and a little deeper. And then all of a sudden it was just like this whoosh. And then I could feel this pressure in my head and in my ears. And it was just like, it was crazy because it was just like so much was just coming and it just like almost exploding out of my face and exploding out of my ears. And then I just felt good again. Now, is my back completely healed? No. But can I move? Yes. Can I stand up and sit down without, wanting to cry? Yes. Did you heal degenerative spine disease? No. But did you make it so that I could function in human society? Yes. And that releasing that balance, hooey wooey voodoo shit, Brad, your wife's got it in spades. She's amazing.
You know what I love to hear, how it affects the body and how you start to feel that energy return. I always stand in reverent awe of the body and of your spirit and how your body knows how to heal itself. All of our bodies do. All I do is move energy and I'm really good, but you're the one that does the healing. So it's not really me that's causing you to feel better. It's you. And you have to remember the beaver dam that you had has been there a long time. And
Yes.
so it's going to take a little bit of time for that energy to come through and heal. And can your degenerative disc heal? 1,000%? Yes,
Right.
it can. But we want to make sure that, you take care of your cute body while she's healing, because it does take time. But you did some major hard work today. And it's just so interesting hearing your story. I'm just blubbering like a fool because I'm like remembering your balance going like, oh, that was bad. Oh, that was bad. I mean, so crazy
Right.
to
And that's
me.
kind of
And
how it's brought it all back and it's brought it all out. But at this time, like retelling my story, yes, I cry, but trust me, I cry all the time. This telling of my story wasn't painful to the point that it has been normally. I don't like to share my story that I don't choose to share my story with very many people. So, hello world. There's my story.
Uh, well, and there's a lot of story you didn't share that, we're not going to get into, but there's a lot that you've been through, Sandy. You had a lot to work through.
You know,
well, and your body's releasing. Remember that
y-
with you crying like this is you releasing still. You're fresh from a balance. So you're releasing body, mind, and soul,
right.
and you're doing it. So this is you doing the work, not me.
Right? Yeah, no, and I've got voodoo here hugging me and I couldn't be happier. So, yeah, I just appreciate everything. I Russ brought me to you, and for that I will always be grateful. So stepping outside of my comfort zone has healed me in the past. So I felt like, why not? Let's step out of my comfort zone and see if it can continue to keep healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're amazing. Thank you for being vulnerable and for sharing your story, Sandy. We just love you so much.
And I love you too.
And you are a warrior. You're a goddess warrior.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing with everybody out there. I think that stories like yours help a lot of people. And that's one of the things I love to do on the show is have these types of interviews, because the more folks that we talk to, I think the more light we can shed in those dark places.
Well, the thing is that
Absolutely.
you're not alone. And until I worked in the criminal justice system, I didn't know about it, which is unfortunate. And I wish I could have learned about it any other way, but I felt so alone. And then when I worked in the criminal justice system, I found out there are so many women, and especially in the LDS church, who feel the way I felt and don't feel like anyone will believe them. That all you have to do is just, if I was just a better wife, if I was just a better person, if I was just, no, you're fine. Like, look outside yourself, and you're not alone in that. And I wish more women knew that there was a support. I mean, I didn't know that I could set boundaries. I had no idea, because I got married as a child and learned badly because, my husband and I were both children, and we were learning bad behavior, bad information off of each other. And so I didn't know that he didn't have I didn't have to be treated that way. Like, I didn't know I could stand up for myself. Like, and as a grown ass woman, you would think that you would get that. But I
Um,
honestly, I didn't get it. I do
well, and
now.
I,
Like, I would never allow Russ to treat me that way. Like, it, I'd, hit the highway, dude. But I didn't know that that was an option. It's
and
weird.
and and I think this is a really good place to put out that there is help out there. If you're in a situation where you are being abused, you are in a domestic violence situation, there is a hotline you can call. It's 1-800-799-SAFE 7233. So 1-800-799-SAFE, or you can go to thehotline.org. Get help. Talk to someone, talk
Yes.
to a police officer, talk to a counselor, a trusted ecclesiastical member. But don't struggle through it alone.
Yeah, because you're not alone, and that isolation is what perpetuates all of it. It perpetuates your belief that you're not good enough, and that you deserve to be treated badly. Like, we had sex before marriage, and so I figured God was punishing me, and that was my punishment, and that's
Mm.
my fault. Like, I shouldn't have done that, and now I have to pay that price. Well, you don't have to pay that price in forever. Like, that's what I was taught. That's how I was raised, and
No,
I look at it now and I think, "How stupid was I?" Pretty darn stupid, but that's a learning curve, and I hope that other people don't have to live that learning curve. I hope they understand
um,
God loves you just the way you are, and he's not a punishing God. Like, I don't believe that God
no.
punishes people that way. I don't. So, but I did for a very long
Well, and
time.
also, you were not stupid, you were learning. So being stupid is knowing the difference, knowing the
Right.
truth and still choosing the bad way,
Right.
choosing to be that way. But you were learning and you've learned a lot and you've come through some really shitty stuff to
Right.
become to who you are. But now you are a voice for other people and you're a strength for women and you're such a light. And I'm so thrilled that you and Russ are a thing and our cruise was awesome.
Was it not the
I
best?
just have to, it was the best.
It was so
Right?
To
much
do it often.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Nan.
Thank you so much, Sandy. We have loved having you on here. And thank you, everybody who is watching this on YouTube or listening on one of the platforms that you get your podcasts. Please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. We really love you and appreciate all of you guys. And we'll see you
On the other side of the veil.